whether the issue is the abortion platform, which is ambiguous about exceptions in the Republican platform, whether it is the issue of Planned Parenthood or Todd Akin in Missouri, this is a real focus.
Yes, it is a real focus. It should be a real focus. I was immensely proud as a Republican woman to see these awesome women leaders that spoke last week. I mean, every single one of them is a bright and shining star in the Republican Party. And I also must say, as a woman, it makes me sad that we continue to treat women as a special interest group. Women are over half of the population. They are not single-issue voters. I know that people feel very strongly about abortion and abortion rights, but to try and pigeonhole women, which I think, frankly, the Democratic Party continues to milk this issue and manipulate women as single-issue voters and say, all you care about is abortion, whatever their views are on abortion. Women care about every issue. In the end, the platform, frankly, doesn't mean much. The Republican Party has pro-choice Republicans, just like the Democratic Party has pro-life Democrats. The Republican Party platform hasn't changed. Todd Akin should go. His comments were about rape, not about abortion, and the Republican Party did the right thing in repudiating him almost universally.
But Doris, as many Republicans as may agree with Carly, the reality is that there are also, it's not just Democratic women, there's Republican women who not only hear about a Todd Akin, but who hear about the platform on abortion or hear about some of these other issues and frankly say, look, this is just a party that's out of step with where I am. That's the challenge that you see.
I mean, I think in the end, platform does matter because words last. The visuals of the convention may have been very successful in portraying diverse women who were Republicans, but words last and actions last. And I think what the Democrats are going to be able to do in the fall is to somehow talk about votes on bills that had to do with things that women care about, words in that platform. I mean, it was interesting to me to watch Ann Romney's very good speech, I thought. And yet, even there, she felt compelled to say, I love women, and talk about her husband as a father and a dad. That is such a contrast. The first woman who ever spoke at a convention in 1940, Eleanor Roosevelt, never talked about Franklin's polio, never talked about him as her husband or as a father. She simply said the president cannot be here because there's too much happening in the world at large right now. They were restless. They wanted him there. And she saved that convention. But it's a whole different change. And it wasn't just Ann Romney. We've changed the whole idea, again, to go back to this likability, that we have to present them as human beings. And we have to focus on the platforms, the substance. That's what this election's about.
Well, let me show a little bit of Ann Romney with her own testimonial for her husband before I come to Tom on this question.
A storybook marriage? Nope, not at all. What Mitt Romney and I have is a real marriage. I know this good and decent man for what he is. He's warm and loving and patient. He has tried to live his life with a set of values centered on family, faith, and love of one's fellow man. From the time we were first married, I've seen him spend countless hours helping others. I've seen him drop everything to help a friend in trouble and been there when late-night calls of panic come from a member of our church whose child has been taken to the hospital.
Tom, you made the point this week that we're going to see Ann Romney, we're going to see Michelle Obama as two of the most effective figures in this campaign.
Not two of the most, the two most effective campaigners in both campaigns. I don't think there's any question about that. Michelle Obama will lead it off next week in Charlotte for her husband. I happen to believe, and you know the kind of family in which I have been raised, I'm living with all women, and I have been witness to this, both in my wife and my daughters and now my granddaughters. I think this is the century of women. I really do believe.
Hooray!
There's going to be more gains made by more women across every part of our lives, cultural, political, and economic. And I think that there is, even among some Republican women out there, that party doesn't quite buy into that yet. I mean, there are extraordinary achievements made by Nikki Haley and Condi Rice and everyone else. But the real issue in this campaign for women will be, will social issues or economic issues, will one trump the other? Because the social issues are very important to women. It's their bodies, their lives. They feel that it's not entirely embraced by the Republican Party. And that's my own judgment.
Understanding, Mr. Speaker, the difference between Todd Akin talking about rape versus the abortion plank in the platform, I understand there is that distinction. Nevertheless, the question social issues versus economic issues as being a big motivator for women is a question.
Let me just take a second to disagree with Carly. I think Todd Akin was the choice of the people of Missouri. I think Todd Akin has publicly apologized. And I think that, and the last poll shows he's beating the Democratic senator. I think that we ought to go on from that. Karl Rove said some terrible things on Friday for which he has apologized, which should remind us. People make mistakes. Vice President of the United States...
He was joking about if he shows up, murdered somewhere.
No, and in the age of Gabby Giffords, it is not a joke to say that a member of Congress ought to get murdered.
Yeah.
And I'm frankly fed up with the one-sided bias, okay? Let me give you two examples. Vice President of the United States goes to a black audience and says, if the Republicans win, you will be in chains. Now, how can Biden remain as vice president? Where's the outrage over deliberate racism? You know, we talk about people saying things they ought to get off tickets. How come Biden shouldn't get off a ticket? Second example, the Democratic Party plank on abortion is the most extreme plank in the United States. The President of the United States voted 3 times to protect the right of doctors to kill babies who came out of an abortion still alive. That plank says tax-paid abortion at any moment meaning partial birth abortion. That's a 20% issue. The vast majority of women do not believe that taxpayers should pay to abort a child in the 8th and 9th month. Now, why isn't it shocking that the Democrats on the social issue of abortion have taken the most extreme position in this country, and they couldn't defend that position for a day if it was made clear and vivid as all the effort is made to paint Republicans?
I'm a Planned Parenthood Democrat on the issue of choice, and I think that is where the country should be. That is where many, many women in this country are, and I am glad there are people running for the presidency who will defend that position. Period. Paragraph. End it.
Newt, I guess the question too is whether you're seeking, even in the Akin example, of this kind of to seek an equivalency between that and, say, Biden, who was using language that Republicans have used about, the regulatory shackles, as opposed to making an overt
Biden was not talking to a black audience about regulatory shackles. Okay, but let me go back to Tom's point, because so you think it's acceptable to have a party committed to tax-paid abortion in the 8th and 9th month? And you think that's a sustainable position in the United States if the news media spend as much time on the extremism of the Democrats as they spend trying to attack us? They would not be able to adopt that plank this week.
Yeah, I do believe that's a defensible position, but I also believe I'm here as a journalist. I'll let the Democratic Party defend it.
But also, Doris, part of this is that whatever the Speaker's views are, this is not the battle that Mitt Romney wants to have. He does not want to get into this, to the Democratic plank versus the Republican plank, and he certainly is not defending Todd Akin. You're the first Republican, frankly, Newt, I've heard who said that he should stay in the race. So the party is very much in a different place than you are.
No.
Well, they are. They clearly are.
When a majority of the people of Missouri on Friday, in the latest PPP poll, said he should stay on the ticket, a majority of Democrats, majority of Republicans, majority of independents, he won the primary. Now, for Washington figures, remember, the same Washington figures who last time wanted to kick off Marco Rubio for Charlie Crist, who will be in Charlotte, I just think that people ought to be a little cautious about saying the voters of Missouri don't count.
Have you talked to the Congressman Akin?
No.
You think he should?
But Akin has publicly apologized. He has said he made a mistake. And I'm not trying to spend the whole show on this. I'm just saying there's a very one-sided model here. Romney doesn't particularly want this argument, but the argument's not going to be avoidable. And I'm just making the case Republicans can win. If Republicans communicate the Democratic Party plank on abortion, Republicans actually win that fight. If we communicate on jobs, we win that fight. And if we communicate on Obamacare,
David, may I just say, this is the problem. This is, in my judgment, an extreme example, yet again, of gender bias. All we talk about is abortion when we talk about women. Women are leaders in this economy and in our political parties. Let's start treating them as whole people.
The debate will continue. We'll leave it there. Thank you all very much for being here.